Hey guys, and welcome to the TCC podcast, where we discuss everything coffee.
So guys, welcome back to the TCC podcast,
Where we discuss everything coffee. And for today's topic, strength versus roast.
No,
What a contra-
it's roast versus strength, don't?
Okay, sorry,
Okay,
roast
roast
versus
versus
strength.
strength.
You see,
Follow the
Stefan
board,
wrote
please.
on the board, so we need to follow what he
yes.
wrote.
So,
Hopefully you guys can read it. So
but yes, a very interesting topic. One might even say controversial. You tasted for already?
yeah, because you.
No.
Oh yeah.
That first sip, I decided not to breathe, and then I took a sip of water to wash it out. Okay.
Go for it.
Ooh,
Okay, so the coffee at hand
is amazing.
is a hard beans
Kenya.
coffee grown in Kenya in Koimbi region.
Man,
It's an AA bean.
No, actually, the region is on there. It is Muranga.
Oh, so it's probably the Koimbi farm then.
Yes.
Koimbi farm in Muranga region. It's a classical or traditional Kenya double washed
Yes.
m.a.s.l 28 and m.a.s.l 34 variety, grown 16 to 1800 meters above sea level, and it is a fantastic tasting coffee.
It is very, very nice.
Amazing.
Love it.
Awesome. So,
Yes.
Lots of cherries.
Lots of cherry flavors.
so this is a weak coffee.
Yes, we put it at a 1 to 12 ratio. It's a weak coffee.
Because it's a light roast.
Yeah, it's a light roast, so it's weak,
So
right?
it's very weak.
Very weak. No, but yes.
Sorry, jokes
Wait.
aside.
I know that's a good jump into the episode. Like
Yes.
that's the topic at hand.
And I think we'll have quite a few jokes and and we'll have a lot of stories to tell on this specific topic because
Yes.
we deal with this not daily but hourly.
Yeah.
Every single day.
We deal with this so often and so much with people like
Especially in South Africa.
yes.
Well, I would say probably in the rest of the world as well, but okay, we don't
just-
struggle
yeah.
with it in the rest of the world.
Yeah,
so.
we're just aware of it in our specific
Yeah.
space. I mean,
So if you're listening to this and you also do struggle with this, please do us a favor. Go to Instagram, send us a DM and go, I feel you, man.
and then
I
just
feel you.
and please then just give us the context, okay? Because if
Yeah,
you say
it
that
might
in
be
4
weird.
weeks' time from the day that we are recording,
Yeah.
we could get the wrong message, right? But in that regard, we really do struggle with this. And if you struggle with this, we completely understand.
Yes.
There is nothing, there are few things that frustrate me as much as a client who walks in, takes the packet at the top of the shelf,
Which is the most expensive
which is
one.
the most expensive,
And light
obviously. The light, well, it's actually not the lightest one, but yes,
but
a
definitely
very
light.
light roast.
Yes.
And like, said, okay, cool. So how are you gonna make it? Oh no, it's not for me. But they like strong coffee. Said, okay, cool. What do you define as strong? You know, like a 9 out of 10. Like we like the Italian blend from Woolies or from wherever. And then I'm like, okay, cool. That's very interesting. That's like saying that Oros is stronger than Coca-Cola.
Yes.
You can't even compare the two.
Yes.
And I'll give you a light roast coffee that'll make you grow a mustache with
Definitely.
every sip.
Definitely.
Because strength and roast profile
is
is not the same.
thing, man. Like it is,
It is,
so
yeah.
important to define those two, like split them apart and put them two worlds apart. One lives on Mars and one lives on the Earth.
Yes.
It shouldn't be in the same galaxy, really, but you know.
It is.
But it
At
is
the moment.
at the moment.
Unfortunately.
But yeah, so people walk into the shop and they go, "Can I please have a strong coffee?" And we go, "So I'm guessing you mean dark roast?" And they go, "Of course." I'm like, "Sorry, I can't help you. Go to Pick and Pay, or go
Yes.
to one of the local grocery stores. They'll be able to assist you." And then people look at us weird.
Yes.
They literally look at us weird.
Especially if when we have clients who sit down and order obviously a Chemex or a Siphon or they order a Bialetti, and then they say like I like a good strong cup of coffee. Is that okay? Well, what kind of coffee do you normally drink? No, like dark roast or you know, that black Nespresso pod, the 11.
The 11,
Okay,
that
wow.
new special one that recently came out.
Yes.
11
So,
out of 10.
Yes. Well, now they've actually made everything out of 11, but yeah.
Yes, but and so okay, that's a very interesting statement.
Whew.
So what do you define as strong? You know, like, you know, strong. I said, okay, that's very interesting.
Do they show like this?
Some of them will go like,
Oh.
strong, man,
Oh,
Yeah.
strong.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, like
what is
strong, man, strong.
Okay.
And there's
Interesting.
okay, you know what, and then having the conversation, and especially knowing how to start that conversation with the person in front of you, because let's be honest, right? Especially if you take into account the Afrikaans culture,
Yeah.
espe- for somebody who's 24, obviously,
Oh, yeah.
most of our clients are quite a bit older than I am.
Yes.
And now going to them, having this conversation, saying, listen, okay, cool, but dark does not mean strong. It means hella bitter, yes.
Yes. And
if
it
you
means
define-
dark
yeah.
roast, but
And if your perspective is you want to be able to put that coffee with ice cream, make a milkshake, and still feel like it's kicking you in the chest, then yes, a dark roast is strong. But other than that, that's
In
not
bitterness.
yes, that's not a strong cup of coffee. I mean, we have the kachere from the Yirgacheffe region
man,
in
that thing
Ethiopia.
is strong.
And if you take that thing at a 1-to-10 ratio,
Oh
even
my word!
we,
In a 1-to-16 ratio, that thing is intense in my mouth.
Is-
I
is-
wouldn't even go 1-to-10 ratio.
Is that the one you spoke of when you stir it the whole time in an AeroPress for the whole 2 minutes?
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
then-
one of the ones we experimented with in the AeroPress on a 1-to-10 ratio.
Yes. So,
With a very slow press. My goodness, that thing was
In-
woo!
Intense.
yes.
Very intense.
Strong.
And I think, and I do think that no matter where you are gonna have people that have that perspective that strong coffee means a dark roast.
Yes.
Especially if you think about, you know, there are very few countries that have actually achieved it to only serve specialty coffee
Yeah.
and to have people who drink commercial coffee as the outlier.
Yeah.
Where
Yes.
I think the rest of the world,
Australia is one of those.
commercial
Yeah.
dark roast coffee or relatively dark roast is the norm, and then people who drink specialty are kind of seen as an enigma.
Yes.
It's like your vintage wine drinkers, or
Right.
you know, it's not a box that you buy that's, you know, kind of pinkish in color and that you buy because you want to feel the wine and not taste it.
Yeah, you want to feel it after 5 liters instead of enjoying
And-
one glass.
And making that statement, we actually find a lot of people that say they like dark roast like the feel of coffee.
Oh yes.
They don't necessarily worry about the taste. They worry about the feel. What
Because
does
they
it feel
add
like
so
on the
much
palate?
sugar to it.
Yes.
Now, body-wise, yes, it's actually very interesting how in South Africa specifically, a lot of people would say, "Oh, I like nice, strong coffee like a French press," and I go, "Okay, cool. So how do you make it at home?" "Oh no, 2 spoons and then top it up," and then I would figure out that it's a 350 ml. And I'm like, okay, that's a 1-to-22 ratio, but you call that strong? That's like toilet water weak.
Yes.
But yet they still like to call it strong because of, like you mentioned, how it feels.
Yeah,
It's an
dark roast.
amazing, big, heavy, creamy body
Yes.
because it's a French
dirty-
press.
it's a
Yeah,
dirty coffee.
because it's a fairly dirty coffee.
And then going just to focus on the statement of strength for a moment, if you take it into account, let's say we take 5 kinds of coffee drinkers that walk into the store every day, or you take 5 people, you ask them what is their definition of a strong cup of coffee, and they have to choose a recipe off the menu. A lot of people say that a cappuccino is a strong,
It's strong.
cup of coffee, and I told you about this lady.
Yes,
who walked
yes,
in,
yes.
a
Can I
personal
please
trainer.
have a strong cup of coffee,
Yes.
a cappuccino?
And so she says she likes a good strong cup of coffee. I said, okay, cool. So do you drink milk or do you drink black?
Yeah.
Like, no, milk. I said, okay, you know what? I don't know about a cortado. I can make you a flat white. We'll taste it. Tell me what you think. Make her a flat white. Perfect. One of those perfect
Blew
shots.
her mind.
She took one sip and she looked like she had a heart attack.
It was too strong.
She's like, oh, whoa, that's very strong. I made her a cappuccino, which is creamy and smooth
Well
and light.
balanced, yeah.
It's like, oh yes, that's a good strong cup of coffee. And I looked her in the eyes and I said, no, it's not.
No, but it isn't.
cappuccino is not an intense cup of coffee.
Imagine you feed her an espresso. What's she gonna feel like then?
Oh no, she would die. I think she would just drop down and die.
I would feel so sad for her to marry someone like Stefan, waking up and she's like, give me a nice strong cup of coffee, and he sticks a ristretto in her hand. She'd be like, straight to the coffin, man.
Or she will wake up.
Or she'll definitely wake up.
So I think the term strength is an enigma.
It should be defined.
Yeah.
As well as the fact that people don't understand what happens while we roast coffee. And I think that's why people think that the roast determines strength.
Right.
Because essentially our perspective is the way to make a chocolate cake more chocolate is to bake it longer.
That makes no sense whatsoever. But
and yet that's how we approach coffee.
But I hear what you say. Yes.
Yeah.
Like that is the approach. Let's run it.
Yeah,
let's run it for 12 minutes. Burn it to cheveries, and there'll be a stronger chocolate cake. That's in essence what we're saying with coffee.
Yes. Just burn it longer,
Yeah.
and then it's gonna have a stronger coffee flavor.
Now you say that to anybody, they'll be like, "No, are you stupid?" And that's our question.
Yeah.
How do you want me to brew the coffee or roast it longer to make it stronger? That makes no sense.
No, it doesn't.
Gross. Anyway, now on the definition of it, I'm going to quote James Hoffmann's 4 definitions on his perspective of discussing strength.
Yes.
Because recently, if you're listening to this in the future, this was recorded literally like within a week of James Hoffmann actually making that video. So you can go to James Hoffmann's YouTube channel. You go and check out drinking the strongest coffee in the world, where he then makes this blurred packet because he doesn't want to reveal what it is, and they proclaim having the strongest cup of coffee in the world, and it's Robusta. To start off with.
I think I saw that the packet.
Yes. And
in any case,
so then he goes, okay, so normally people define strong as dark roast. Now that's not strong, that's burnt.
Yeah.
Then he goes into the second definition, which strong coffee, and then he mentions bitter, where people go, so this cup is nice and bitter, so it's nice and strong. Now great, if you like strong in the back of your throat, by all means. But I like strong on the tip of the tongue, which is...
I like it in the center of the tongue.
Yeah, because you like the umami section. I love the sweet section.
I love it.
He likes the acidity and complete overall body.
He wants his coffee to go, woo!
That's it.
Exactly.
And
stay there for the whole day.
Yeah, and linger for hours. That means he's not going to have another cup.
I won't take a mint after my coffee.
Not necessary.
Yeah,
so second definition was bitter, and that is not strong. Then he goes into the third one where people, and this one is always the best for you guys watching on YouTube. I want a strong cup of coffee. I've got a lot of work to do, so I need a lot of caffeine. I'm like, that's not strong. Like, in actual fact, we're not even going to discuss it on this episode because that's just a complete different, talk by itself. Like that, that's a topic for an hour's discussion. Yeah. The whole thing on caffeine. And then James goes in. Wow, tongue twister right there. He goes in and he goes, guys, go and watch my video on caffeine. You're obviously not understanding how it works. It's a molecule, and we extract the molecule. You're not going to feel the strongness of the caffeine necessarily, unless you really believe that you have to. Then decaf will also give you a kick. And then, of course, he goes into what I don't want to just say agree with, but how I feel about coffee.
Yes.
Ratio. But then I want to add the fifth one, strong and body. Which James didn't mention at all. You have that person that you can make him a 1:30 ratio coffee as long as it's oily, creamy and thick in his mouth. He's happy, like Stefan,
So I like siphons.
That's why he loves siphons.
Just need to make them properly.
Yeah. Properly, just remember the spring at the bottom.
The spring, yeah.
Otherwise it's a very heavy and sticky and thick.
Let's just elaborate on this quickly because we've mentioned this a few times and I can't remember if we actually told the story. But Stefan borrowed our siphon to
For
go
videos.
For videos.
Or photos for your wife
for
or something.
my wife wanted a nice photo and a video for something cool.
Yeah. So
I'm
so
like,
he,
yeah, siphon.
he takes it to the house, goes to make the coffee, and then Theo also just says, just go watch the video. He has made one and put it on YouTube.
Yeah.
And at some point, Stefan calls us
Frustrated.
Definitely.
It's just, listen, my coffee keeps ending up at the bottom. It's not staying at the top. It's not working.
What am I doing wrong?
Yes. So Theo just, listen.
Watch the video.
He said, but I did watch the video. It's like, so did you hook in the spring?
And he goes, which spring?
It's like, the spring is on the video. And then we obviously find out that Theo did it. He just didn't mention it. He
Yeah.
just,
While he's
step.
speaking, he's hooking the
I show you
spring.
how to hook it, but I never mention that I do.
Yeah.
Which is why that's the other 8% of communication is actually just the
Yes.
vocal thing. Just tell them what you're
Have to
busy
say
with.
it.
Yeah.
So if you're out there and you're listening to this episode and you're going, what the hell are these guys on about the siphon? Oh, now I get it.
Yes.
Am I supposed to pull the spring down? Because I know you're out there. I see you guys on Instagram posting your siphon videos, not hooking the spring and getting frustrated because the coffee is in the bottom. It's a thing. It is a thing.
It wasn't a good day for me.
Hey, at least you love the chemic or to play with the chemics.
Yeah, definitely.
That was good.
That
fun.
doesn't happen.
Yeah, there was no issue like
There
that.
was no spring
Yeah,
issue with the
that's
chemicals.
Good.
Okay, back to the topic. So strength. I guess I can't really say that what you experience as strength is not strength.
Yes.
But we have to put definition on it for one purpose and one purpose only. You walk into a coffee shop and you tell your barista to make you a nice strong cup of coffee and he doesn't know what you mean with strong. You're going to frustrate him and frustrate yourself trying to find the cup of coffee that you would enjoy.
Yes.
It's that simplistic. You want something bitter. Okay? Strong in the throat. Bitter. Ask him for something strong and bitter in the throat. If he knows what he's doing, he should be able to satisfy you.
Yes.
You want something strong, meaning flavor in your mouth. Ask for something on a tight ratio.
Or change the vocabulary. Say that you want something intense.
Yes,
You
intense
want
is
an
actually a better
intense
word.
cup of coffee, because that kind of indicates towards ratio or towards recipe.
Yes.
So you say that you want something. Let's say, for example, you tell someone you want a meal with an intense umami,
Right.
or you want
Put
something
a
with
lot
an
of
intense
cheese and a lot of
sweetness.
meat on the plate.
Yes. Or you dose it with salt.
With salt,
Um,
yes.
But change maybe the vocabulary to say that we're talking about intense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not
Now, I actually think
strength.
that's a way better word because strong is such a vague word. Intense. Now, can I please have an intense, sweet cup of coffee? Easy to produce. Can I please have an intense bitterness? Can I please have an intense body?
Yes.
Now, that's adding to vocabulary. It's speaking the coffee lingo.
And sorry.
Yeah, and the thing is, you can make an intense cup of coffee with milk and without milk.
Yes.
Exactly. Like intense body. That's a cappuccino, man.
Especially if you take into account somebody wants something intensely sweet but light in body.
Right. Now you're changing your method and your filter.
Yeah.
And also and just focusing on espresso. I mean, we went to a juice bar
Yes.
where the owner's sister only drinks iced coffee. She thinks the coffee itself is disgusting.
Yeah,
And so-
she
and-
thinks that flavor is horrible.
And so she says, listen,
Coffee.
yes, and we had quite a few coffees to taste. We'd been spending a lot of time with them, just having a good conversation. And then she
Plain.
goes and says, listen, I'll make you a deal. You make a cup of coffee that I can enjoy without sugar.
Challenge
I'll
accepted.
pay for everything that you had today.
Challenge
You
accepted.
know what the worst part was? I actually thought to myself, you know what? I'm not going to be that guy. I'm not going to do this. But my brother who stands next to me is like, oh, he accepts. So he's just like, yes, he's going to do this.
He's gonna
Now
show
also
you.
The
saying,
pressure, man.
I did not for the and this was my fault, shame on me. I did not have my coffee case with me.
Yes.
And this shop did not have a scale. I didn't know the coffee. But I said, okay, fine. Will you give me the opportunity to taste one espresso on more or less a ratio that I think is going to work
Before.
before I do this? So I pull a blind shot, time it, check that my temp is correct, obviously, and I know that's going to be consistent. And it runs slow.
Oh no.
And I mean hectically slow. So by the time that I had reached 26 seconds, I must have had a 1:1.2 ratio
Ouch.
in that cup.
That
And
means they never tamped the proper tamping
they
pressure.
just-
Also saying that the barista who was there actually could serve me a semi-consistent shot in time.
Wow.
So how she tamped worked.
Yes, for her.
So for her. Now I'm quite a bit taller than she is, and I'm built a little bit different. So if I have to tamp the same way, it's not gonna come out the
Yeah,
same.
no, you squat trying to tamp like she does, because I
Yes.
know how tall she is.
But anyway, go pull this. So I decide, you know what, I'm gonna make, and I know this is not a proper drink, but she only said make a cup of coffee that she can taste without sugar.
Yes.
So I decide to make a cappuccino style latte using a ristretto, which runs in 26 seconds. And also to say, the milk that they had 16.3 grams of sugar in that
Yes.
250 ml.
Which means steaming was actually just a walk in the park.
Well, no, it was semi-lukewarm milk.
Yes.
So it
But
was
beautiful
very,
sweetness.
It was very difficult. So we go and I try to pull the shot. I give her the coffee. I said, okay, cool. Now, very important. You have to taste it 3 times, and you have to taste it by these methods. So we go. I tell her, okay, first one, take a small sip, roll it over the tongue, focus on the tip of the tongue, the sides, and the back.
Mm-hmm.
First taste, you could see she hates it because now she has a crema on top of the milk. And she's an iced coffee drinker, and she adds like 4 or 5
Squirts
shots
of caramel, yeah.
So that's sweet.
So it's extensively
Sugar.
sweet.
Pure sugar, man.
Number 2, tell her, okay, now take a little bit of sip of air, take a sip, roll it around over the tongue. And she looks at me shocked. I said, okay, cool, now you should find these changes in flavor.
Yes.
She kind of looks at me like she doesn't believe it.
Yeah, like it's
And by-
happening in her mouth, but she's not believing what's
But
happening.
now number 3, unfortunately, now it also to say, she was so indoctrinated in that you're not allowed to slurp. No matter what she tried, she could not slurp the cup of coffee. So she just
no.
took the second step on the third sip, and she looks at me. She's like, "Listen, did you add sugar to this?" I said, "No, I didn't. You guys watched me make this cup."
Yes. No sugar behind the bar.
She's like, "Really?" I said, "Yes." She's like, "Okay, apparently I'm paying for everything." Now, saying this, a person who drinks iced coffee, I gave a light, milky, sweet drink.
Yes.
But believe it or not, the coffee was a dark roast,
Right.
proving
You can make a good cup of coffee.
and you can use dark roast, and it wasn't a strong cup of coffee.
Right.
I just adjusted the recipe and the ratio. So bitterness does not mean strength. In fact, I gave her a very sweet, milky coffee, and she finished it.
Praise the Lord.
this-
Well, this same girl, about a week later, I make her a maragogipe at a 1:12 ratio.
Stefan is immediately, I wasn't there.
Yes, he wasn't there. I made a maragogipe, roasted to probably about a minute 30 seconds after first crack, as light as day. And I pull it on a 1:12 ratio. She takes the first sip and she's like, my goodness, this thing is so strong, I can feel it eating the enamel off my teeth. I was like, great. So she takes a second sip, third sip, and then we just chat. And about 2 minutes into it, she kept on drinking, not realizing that she's actually enjoying this black coffee made through a V60 on a 1:12 ratio.
Strong.
At one point, I mean, that's fairly intense, man. That's like a proper pulled black coffee.
And it's going to give you some intense acidity on that
Yes.
specific ratio.
Now, on the last sip, just before she takes the last sip, she jumps up, runs to the back, and throws an ice cube into it to see what it's going to do when it cools down.
Oh, that's going to have a very interesting effect on sweetness.
Oh, man, it was so sweet. She comes back, she's like, so I just need to make sure you did not add anything to this coffee. I was like, no.
So that's like your first experience when you tasted specialty.
Right.
Yes.
The Ethiopian.
My Ethiopian,
Yeah,
is,
you're like, did you add anything?
And she tasted dark, sweet purple grapes. And she was like, she cannot believe what she's tasting. And she was like, well, this type of coffee I would drink. And then I gave her the price. It's about 2,000 Rand for a kilogram. And she almost got a heart attack. So, right. Strength is not defined by roast.
Yeah.
Because you gave her a dark roast in milk. I gave her a light roast black on a very intense ratio.
Yes, quite a bit more
and
intense
it
than I would have
blew her
used.
mind.
Yes.
So,
Just a question on the dark roast. Like the
Yes.
Italians likes the dark roasts.
well, yes and no. Certain Italians like dark roast.
Okay.
And they tend to put a block, not a spoon. They got
block,
these little cubes
Cube
of sugar into the espresso before they drink it. So
Yeah.
it is like a Greek style coffee.
Okay. Is it you have more experience with the Italians?
Yes.
Do they say it's a strong coffee for them, or do
Oh,
they
no,
say,
that's
do they say
that's
it's a bitter
normal.
coffee?
Well, no. Well, for them, that's a normal cup of coffee because it's this. And I'm not going to say dark roast. I don't believe the Italians love dark roast coffee. It's darker than light, but I would call it a medium to maybe a medium to medium dark type of coffee style. Like, I mean, Illy coffee is not dark roast. It's a good quality roast profile coffee.
Okay.
Very consistent in roast profile. They would put it on a 1 to 1.5, maybe up to about a 1 to 2.4 ratio, dependent on of course the machine they're using, because they like to use a 14-gram basket.
Okay.
And then they would add a cube of sugar to it, going,
Just because-
that is coffee.
That's for them. They always add a sugar.
Yes, like you don't ask for an espresso, you just ask for, uno espresso, par favor, vorrei caffè. Like, can I please have a coffee? And they serve you that immediately.
Ah, okay.
You
So
don't have to
that's
even
just
go
normal.
vorrei espresso.
So that's
Like,
just normal coffee.
that's normal coffee.
That's a coffee.
you
okay.
ask them for hot water on the side, they're like, I'm not going to say this because we might have Italians listening to this.
Freaking Americano.
No, I would have told them, Madonna merda. I'm not going to add the rest. But they would literally tell you to get out, because no, we don't do that. That's, no Americans,
Yes.
And the Italians would get that one.
Yeah.
But yes, for them that's coffee. Now,
Okay.
again, not dark roast, in my opinion.
Okay.
The French, on the other hand.
Oh, they the dark roast.
Yeah, I'm walking in Paris, and I go past this small little cafe, and I'm like, my friend with me, American, is like, let's quickly grab a coffee. I'm like, fantastic. So he orders a cappuccino, and I order just black. My goodness. They probably extracted the darkest charcoal for about 28 seconds.
Goodness.
At absolutely no ratio, and now this is nothing against the French because I am French by descent, and they charged me 25 euros. What? I was like, that is the most disgusting, most expensive cup of coffee I've ever requested in my life.
So,
Okay.
I only took one sip and I threw it away.
that's like paying 25 euros to lick out an ashtray in a pub.
In a pub where they smoke joints that they roll themselves. Not even a proper cigarette from
it's not even a
from a
cigar.
company,
You
yes.
like,
No, it was nasty.
Yeah.
Now, and
Okay.
they love it. Now, why do they love it? Because they mostly drink cafe lattes. They got humongous mucks of milk, and they add a single shot of espresso to it.
or
For
single shot of
coffee.
whatever ratio they pull.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. Which then equals
Short
to
coffee.
a very, very weak coffee flavored milk beverage. And
Okay.
they love it. Makes me sick, so I can't have it.
Yeah, all the
Interesting.
milk's definitely gonna make you
Ah,
sick.
Phew.
I was just wondering about the Italians because I know they drink espressos in general.
Yes.
But yeah, I just thought that it's mostly dark roasted.
Yeah, I wouldn't really call that dark roast, yes.
And I have to say, I think I have experienced some challenges having Italian clients who, as a habit, add sugar to the espresso.
Naturally, yes. Like
And then-
Tino.
Oh, yeah. Well, he now actually adds sweetener, but still.
Yes.
Going to him and said, listen, would you mind tasting the coffee? He's like, yes, I've done this with Theo before. This is just
Yeah.
It's habit. This is how I like it. And obviously for me, as pedantic as I am, and as religious as I am with regards to adding or not adding sugar to coffee, every time I have an Italian client, or somebody who likes their coffee in a similar way, a part of me dies.
Yeah.
I make sure that it's 18.0 grams
Exactly.
of dosage. I make
To
sure
a perfect
that it's
shot.
not boiling water. I put it in 20.0 seconds. Now, that's obviously exaggerating a little bit. My scale only counts seconds. It's not 0.1 second. But getting to as close to the ratio that I wanted to pull for this specific cup.
Right.
And then they take a look at it, add a sugar.
Yeah.
Don't taste it first. Don't smell it. Don't appreciate it.
And it's just habit.
And immediately I think, my goodness, this could be the coffee that I picked myself, processed myself, dried myself, stood in the sun for myself, bending myself 3 times over because the trees are this tall. And you're adding sugar without tasting it?
Yeah, what an insult. But it is. I mean, and it's true. And I mean, now when Tino, Tony, or Bruno comes into the shop, which is our local Italian clients, they walk into the shop and they go, espresso or cafe, and you go, fantastic, and you walk up to their table and you're like, okay, there's your espresso, I'm drinking with you. They'll be like, no sugar.
Yes, actually,
And they
you're right.
love doing so. So they know you're putting the effort into it because you're coming to the table, and now it's a relationship thing.
Yeah.
But you just send it to the table like they order it and they get it.
Yeah.
Sugar.
Naturally, they're going to go for the sugar or sweetener because it's habit on the style of coffee that they have.
Because I actually had a conversation with Tino one day. I said, listen, but do you think that our coffee is bitter? He's like, no, it's not bitter.
Yeah, I love it.
I said, okay, well, actually, no. I said, do you think it's too strong? He's like, and it kind of looked at me funny. And I realized, wait, you just ask somebody
Bro.
who's Italian if an espresso is strong. I said, okay, do you think it's bitter? Like, no, it's not. He just likes the sugar.
Yeah.
Compared to other clients who order a cafe latte on our light to medium roast
Oh my
blend,
word.
and then add all of it without tasting how much espresso they actually want, to just add all of it, and like, this is too strong.
Yes.
Or having a client come to us, we make him an Americano, like, your coffee's weak. So well, what do you mean? No, it's not. It doesn't have enough coffee flavor. So okay, what in your opinion is coffee flavor?
Right.
To me, coffee flavor is blueberries on the tip of the tongue, orange acidity on the side, grapefruit in the back and center of the tongue is pinotage wine. That is
Right.
coffee flavor. So what in your opinion is coffee flavor? It's like, no man, Mung and Bean has a stronger coffee. He said, no, they have a darker coffee.
Yeah,
Yes.
And that's kind
Better.
of where I then get to the point where I tell them, listen, if you want a dark roast coffee because you like the bitterness element and you want it to linger forever, you want your grandchildren
That
to have
smoky
straight
linger.
hair because of the intensity of the bitterness, go to a different shop.
Yes, don't order necessarily from us because we are going to disappoint you.
And also, I am not going to ruin my coffee or burn my milk or burn the coffee.
And to be fair, you love and would every single time if someone asks for a lungo, pull them a lungo.
But
Because you're giving them a lungo flavor, not a roasty, ashy, smoky piece of trash.
And to be fair though, that conversation, that client who you're talking about now, was open to having an educational conversation,
Right.
saying, listen, okay, but I like more bitterness in the coffee. I don't need you to burn it. I don't need you to do whatever. Just please pour me a lungo.
That's
which
it.
I like, because this challenges me as a barista to go focus on how I use the scale and put a completely different ratio and recipe. Which means that I get to taste something new as well. Because I
Exactly.
don't just serve him the lungo latte or lungo cappuccino.
Taste.
I taste the lungo first.
That's it.
Then
With
I
them.
play around with the ratio.
Yes, going, okay, how do what do you think about that? And then he's like, I'll see you tomorrow. Why?
Yes.
Because he got something that satisfied him.
Or another client, this guy who keeps coming back for single origin espressos through the nanopress.
I love this guy.
He comes there and he says, no, you know what, he had a cappuccino, but it was a bit weak. Is that okay, cool? Was it not bitter enough? He's like, no, I don't like bitterness. I want intensity. Which was so great because immediately I said, okay, do
We
you
can
like
help
it?
you.
Yes. And then I asked him, listen, do you like espresso? He's like, no, I don't like espresso. So why? So well, it's bitter. So
You've never had a good one.
well, no, and the fact
that's
that he
the first
used.
response of everybody.
Yeah, that would be my response. So you've never had a good one?
Well, no, he said he has had 1 or 2 good espressos. It's just that in Pretoria, he doesn't get good espresso.
Yeah.
That's it.
And I understand. I mean, I have very often tasted an espresso and gone, oh, I paid for this.
Oh, no. I send it back.
We also had a few of those.
Yes.
But
Ooh, that one.
oh, let's
Not gonna go
let's
into
not,
that
let's
one.
not, let's not.
Your second.
My second worst cup of coffee I've ever
worst.
had in my life.
Let's not.
That was a bad espresso, man.
Any
But
case.
going the fact that he uses the statement intensity. Go said, okay, cool, but make him our normal espresso. You know, pull a little bit of a tighter ratio, 1 to 2.3 ratio at that time.
Nice and sweet.
Taste it with him, and he's like, oh my goodness, I didn't know Pretoria had coffee like this. I said, you know, you've just been shopping at the wrong place.
Yes.
I can name 4 places that can serve you not one that tastes like this, but that is just as good and unique in its own way.
Yes, and we can
Saying-
drive there now and not tell them where you're coming from, and they will serve you that good quality.
And then saying, listen, but if you want to say something interesting next time, let's do a single origin.
Yes.
Coming back,
Goes for that La Hermosa.
goes for the La Hermosa, loves the flavor,
Through the nano
Nice.
espresso, man.
Nice.
That's pinotage wine for days.
and now he just wants something new. So now we're kind of struggling with having enough coffee to give him. But a client who knew he likes intensity,
Right.
so a
the
strong
right vocabulary.
cup
Yeah.
of coffee,
Yes.
and not bitter.
That's it.
Compared to somebody who say they like a strong cup of coffee,
And they only
But they
mean
add-
smoke.
4 drops of espresso to the latte, but they want a dark roast.
Yes.
Not
So,
the same thing.
like-
Because they don't like the bitterness. I'm like, why go for that then?
That's good.
I mean, it is what it is. Now, the client that probably frustrates me the most when it comes to the word strong is the client that comes in and he goes, can I please have a strong, dark, roasted, cup of coffee, but he wants it in, let's say for argument's sake, a cappuccino. And I go, okay, cool, I can't really help you with the dark roast or the strong, like you obviously meaning, but what I'll do is I will tamp the living hell out of this next shot. Pull you like a 35 to 40 second shot, really extracting all of the woody flavors into that cup. And I'm going to be
Is
pulling it
horrible.
at about a 1 to 1.9, 1 to 2 ratio, keeping it nice and intense, right?
Ish.
And then he, make him the cappuccino, and then he goes for the sugar. I'm like, hold on a second. You just said you want something specific. I gave you that something specific.
And
Now
you
you're
add.
going for a sugar. Yeah, because I don't like bitterness. I'm like, okay, cool. And then I see in their hand, they got 4 packets of
Come on.
of sugar on a 250 ml cup that I only poured up to 200 mils. And I'm going, okay, please do me a favor and first taste that. And they would take a sip and go, okay, in this cup I'll only add 1. To which I responded, but that means you don't want a strong,
Yeah.
bitter cup of coffee or dark roast cup of coffee. And they go, what do you mean? I like strong coffee. I'm like, no. And I made them a normal cappuccino and they lost it. They were like, what the hell? How did you get it to taste like this naturally with no sugar, nothing whatsoever?
Yeah.
I was like, well, that's what coffee is supposed to taste like.
Supposed.
And now they don't touch sugar anymore.
Yeah.
So it's better for the health. You helping
Way
with,
better.
You're helping with them with their health
Yeah,
also.
they'll
Awesome, man.
at least they'll add like 5 years to their lifespan,
Yeah.
Just getting off the sugar, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, okay, so why this information? Like, why is this important to understand the difference, Tian, between roast strong versus intense?
I think first of all, especially if you want to move into a space where you want to buy a specialty coffee, there are very few places that you're going to be able to buy a dark roast specialty. And first of
Yeah.
all, ruining a specialty coffee by making a dark roast because you think it's going to be stronger, to me is an absolute atrocity. And also,
Agreed.
educating yourself on the vocabulary and then communicating effectively to a barista that wants to give you a cup that you enjoy.
Yes.
It's gonna make it so much easier. You tell them that you want an intense coffee, and then immediately, even our waiters now ask,
Yes.
okay, do you want a flat white or cortado?
Right.
And they read the clients. They say, listen, are you sure you want a cortado?
Yes,
It
'cause
is
that's
very,
very intense.
very intense.
Yeah.
And then some clients will say, okay, what else do you recommend? So let's start with a flat white.
Flat white, yeah.
And then you do have those clients that say, okay, you know what? Actually, I want a little bit more intense. And then you give them the cortado, and they love it.
And traditional cortado, just for you guys listening out there, double ristretto, topped up with a 1-to-1 ratio between a ristretto and milk.
Yes.
So not just the normal 1-to-1 on espresso, and definitely not the espresso topped up in a small glass.
No.
Cortado, those, in my opinion, shouldn't be an option.
But yeah, so it's
and the thing is, it's nice to know that a flat white's like kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
On the
Between the
intensity
cappuccino
side.
and the
Yeah, so
cortado.
I think it's a nice way to start for somebody to say, okay, I want. If they say no, it's too strong or too intense, you can go cappuccino. Or if they say no, I want something more intense, then you can go cortado.
Yeah.
So and like that's a nice middle point to.
Correct. And if you're a
give people
barista,
options.
and if you're a barista listening to this, start speaking the language. Your
Yeah.
client comes in, they want a nice strong cup of coffee. You go, okay, fantastic. Do you drink black or milk? Okay, no, we go milk. Great. Okay. So do you know cappuccinos? Yeah, it's a bit too weak. Great. Now you know you can go to traditional flat white, double ristretto, topped up in the small cup. Or they go, yeah, no, I've had flat white, but it's too milky. Educate them on, then you probably didn't have a flat white.
Or, but you will also have the client that says, no, but it's too milky. I said, okay, but what in your opinion is a flat white? And I've had this, where client says it's a double ristretto and a 1-to-4 of coffee to milk. I said, okay, cool. So you obviously don't like a flat white, it's too milky. So what do you like? No, like a cortado, or give me a macchiato.
Exactly. But then they obviously know what they're doing. So
Yes.
if you're a barista, have the conversation with your client and actually converse around it, build some relationship,
Ask questions.
and let the client walk away happy. That means they come back tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I think that's the important part where the barista should know and trying to find out what their clients want, because in a lot of shops you just go in and they wait for you to tell them what you want, and then if you ask for a specific thing and they make it, then you're like, it's not really what I wanted.
Yes.
I don't like it, so I'm not coming back.
Right. No, I'm not going back to that place because their coffee is not nice.
Yeah.
What?
So if you guys as baristas ask the questions, ask your clients, and like I said, then you start a relationship, you start a conversation, and then sometimes the client realize that they don't really know what they like. Then you give them what they like.
Yes. And they walk away happy just because you were willing to converse.
Yeah, and they will come back for it.
Saying also that you are going to encounter that one client who think the ideal mint is sucking on a piece of charcoal. And if you serve a specialty coffee, you will never be able to satisfy that person's palate.
Unfortunately, yes.
And unfortunately, I've had those people that say, you know what, I'm not coming back. And in that case, it's better that you don't come back. First of all, because you are terrorizing my baristas.
Yeah.
And I will never be able to give you what you want.
Never.
But there's a place, literally, you walk down the hall, you're going to go to a place, they're going to serve you something that you like. It's going to be for your palate. So I think this is really important, because knowing what you like makes it so much easier to get what you like.
Yeah.
So much easier.
And if you're a barista, you can give your client either what they like or recommend them to a place or something that they can enjoy.
Yeah.
And which automatically, for you as a coffee drinker or as a coffee professional, makes the coffee better.
Yeah.
Because you can find what you enjoy. It's so much easier to find what you like when you know what you like.
Yeah, definitely. And while doing that, while you ask the questions and communicating with your clients, that's adding value to them.
Aha.
Because that's what it's all about. So to give them value for their money.
Correct.
Because if they're not going to get value for their money, they're not going to come back.
That's it. And if they don't come back, then the farmer is struggling.
Yeah.
So let's give them the value that they deserve.
Yes.
Now, how can we apply this? As we always say, go out, speak to the people, like speak to your clients or speak to your barista, experiment, and a challenge.
Yeah.
Go out and buy a dark roast packet of coffee. Go to your local coffee shop and buy a specialty. Also, please keeping in mind, it's going to cost 5 times more for the small packet than you just paid for the big packet. The
Yes.
250 grams is not going to be as cheap as the 1 kg when it comes to that, because it's not the same quality of coffee. Make 2 cups of coffee next to each other
Keep
and
the,
actually drink both.
but also bring some consistency. Put them at a similar ratio.
Yes.
Use a similar.
Use a scale.
Yeah, use a scale. You know, bring your variables as close as possible and find what the difference is. We do have people that say, you know what, they like the dark roast.
That's it.
They like it.
It's not right nor wrong.
It's
It's
just
just different. Like,
Yes.
if your mouth likes it, again, who are we to say what you should like or dislike?
Yes.
But at least know how to speak the lingo to
Yeah.
actually get what you want
Yes.
or what you like.
I agree.
Yeah. So I think that kind of ends off because we can go on and on this conversation.
Oh, on this one we can go for days.
And I think if we had more people around the table, we could go
Yeah.
on like this for about a week.
Easy.
But I think we can end off this conversation. If you like an intense cup of coffee, pull a tighter ratio.
Yeah, get that acidity nice and up.
If you like a dark roast, don't go to a specialty coffee roaster.
No, you're gonna be
Please.
disappointed.
Yes, and don't expect them to change the
Yeah.
quality or their passion for it
Yeah.
because it's what you want. I think, for example,
We love giving the clients what they want. But in this case, it breaks our hearts.
Yes,
Yeah.
but I think it is an inherently selfish decision to expect a roaster to change their style because you don't like what they serve.
Yes.
Then
Just go to someplace
yeah,
else.
Go somewhere
somewhere
else.
where they do it like the way you want it.
Yes.
So
Excellent.
cool.
Our coffees are done, and
Yeah, this one did not last.
Yeah, this one really did not last, but somebody only gave us 16 grams of coffee to
Yeah,
work with.
I don't know.
Well, because there was only 40 grams, well, 37 grams in the packet. So we need one more,
One
pull
more
from
brew.
that.
Hey, if we use the nano brace, we can do 2 brews.
Ooh. Yeah, guys. So we
Yeah.
really hope this was informative. We know that we talked a lot of nonsense on this episode. Chatting maybe a bit too much on X, Y's, or Z's, not really going into the topic, but it's because it added value to the topic itself.
Yeah. Yes.
It's things we have to keep in mind so that we can actually get something that would satisfy our palates.
Yes.
So
Yes, but if you want us to go into a conversation where we talk a little bit more about the science behind it, go into some detail, bring in some research as well, we can do that as well. Pop us a
Yes.
message and we'll go into a little bit more pedantic.
That's
we
it.
like to have the conversation, we like to have it flow, but if you want a very specific educational thing, we can definitely do that.
Yeah, definitely.
correct. So we love you guys. We've never done this, I don't think, maybe right in the beginning. But if you guys wouldn't mind, please go and check out our website. It is available in the description of this podcast. You can just go there, you'll find it. Please go and follow us on Instagram. We really, really appreciate it. Send us a message. If you're a Twitter person, our Twitter following is still very, very small.
Yes.
But send us a tweet. We'd love to hear from you guys. And more than anything else, the important one is please go and subscribe to our YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I never ask you guys to go and do these things because we naturally believe that if you enjoy it, you would go and do. But I also notice that sometimes if we don't ask, then people go, "What? You have a YouTube channel? We didn't know that." Or you're on Instagram? Great. So yeah, go and check us out there and send us a DM. We would love to hear from you guys,
Yeah.
and we'll chat to you guys soon.
Yes.
See you on the next episode.